on this very wonderful lecture. And I believe that it will be a very, very good closing for, all the lectures we've had throughout this workshop. We know that this is not going to be the end of it. Even though today, inshallah, is going to give us lecture, we're hoping that next year edition, it will take us through a proper class and show us examples of, translation errors that has happened and give us some, lines for us to translate, for example, and I think that practical sense will give us a thorough knowledge of how it happens. But, we need to start with the basics, the fundamentals, and have some understanding of the principles. Then subsequently, inshallah, we will bring him back to, give us hands-on, some of us are Yoruba. We don't even know how to translate from Yoruba to English. Some of us are English, we just like to speak English. We don't even know how to translate to Yoruba, right? And like we said yesterday, there are some books that we can write. So there are books, I learned that, and he was going to tell us that the books written by Dio Fagoa, some of them were taken from, literature of, English writers. So he's going to tell us those things. You will see that even though people will always refer to Enriquerido, Igbo Rumole, you will see that it's translated work, but look at how we enjoyed it. So can we also do the same? And this is one of the benefits of this lecture. I'm prepping your mind so you know what you are up for. So over to you, sir. Jazakumullah khairan, sir.
Again, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We are very priorities. The Sabas told us what we are here to do with translation skills or Islamic scholarly writing. If I tell us that translation art is indispensable and no one under this level can do without it, no one, none of us are translators. You ask me why? Even as I speak it now, as you listen to me, you are translating what I'm saying in your mind in order to decode the message you are receiving towards understanding the meaning before you will be able to action the messages that are inherent in what I'm saying. So from there, you will make the noises, all the relevances for you to be able to benefit from the message. So from there, generally will tell us that there is intra-language translation and inter-language translation. Generally, you translate English into English if you are a native speaker of the language. Because if you don't understand what they are saying, essence of communication is meaning, semantics. So if you don't understand what someone is saying, that communication has no basis. So even if you are a Yoruba native speaker, you still need to translate what you are listening from the person communicating with you or to you to be able to digest the message. Ditto other languages too. They will now come to that is from one language to another, which is the basis of what we are here to interrogate. So that's why I said translation is indispensable. It is part of us, and we cannot do without it. It's a very interesting act because it propagates culture and civilization from the source language, which we call SN, to TL, which is target language. What I'm using now is English language, that is SN. If someone is there translating it into another language, that another language is TL, which is target language. So translation will carry the cultural sentiment biases of the source language into the target language. That's why we say translation propagates culture and civilization. Translation is also very dangerous. It can be very dangerous. Definitely delicate. How? Since my short journey into this art, I've not seen any art that is so dangerous and delicate as translation. It has with it as primary tool language, like I said, which is with human. There will be no language without human being. Anywhere you see human being, also we always see language. And translation also, like I said, takes with it, culture, tradition, and so on and so forth, because it is human, the human beings that use language. And language, for another person to understand you, it must be translated. And we know, those of us, we know what human beings are, what we are. We have our biases, we have our emotions, we have our sentiments. We can do and undo all these emotions, all these sentiments have every tendency to appear in the act of translation. Has anyone heard about the story of Mokusasu? Mokusasu is a Japanese word. Mokusasu. M-O-K-U-S-A-T-S-U. Mokusasu. M-O-K-U-S-A-T-S-U. Mokusasu. I don't know, I'm not a Japanese speaker or something. I pronounce it the way I see it, but I know that T is silent. It's a low word, which is translated into phrase, or a phrase in another language, or a sentence in another language. It's a Japanese word. That single word of Japanese led to bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. That word led to the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Says of that event. He said, those desperate days in history, when nuclear bombs were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, inflicting utter destruction, misery and torment, and some effect of the nuclear bomb still continue this day because of that word. If you didn't add that, that's what he said. His Holiness said that I've read, but it's because of that word. What happened? In July 1945, Allied leaders meeting in Potsdam submitted a Stephen-worded declaration of surrender terms and waited anxiously for the Japanese to reply. The terms had included a statement to the effect that any negative answer will invite prompt and other destruction. Truman, Churchill, Stalin, and Jiang Kai-shek stated that they hope that Japan will agree to surrender unconditionally and prevent devastation of the Japanese homeland, and that they patiently awaited Japan's answer. And that second one was right. Reporters in Tokyo questioned Japanese Premier Suzuki about his government's reaction to the declaration. Since no formal decision had been reached at the time, Suzuki falling back on the politician hold no standby statement, like no comment. Like no comment. Just said, Mokusasu. Mokusasu. No, like no comment. Silence. But because this word also has some other negative meanings, the reporters and those who received it took to the negative meaning. Ignore. No worthy of comment. That the declaration is not worthy of comment. Or silence is better for the fools. So if one head of government is calling other leaders fools, what will be the reaction?
This is serious. Just one.
Just one. Translation problem. Why didn't they take to the positive meaning no comment? Like every politician will say to the report to journalists, sorry, no comment. Sorry, no comment. But they took to silence is for the fools, or not worthy of comment. Mario Bay, in his story, in the story of language, wrote about this. What the premier actually said, so the story goes, was that his government had decided to postpone action and withhold comment pending clarification of the demand for surrender. That was the intention of the statement. But the team was led by the US, and violent Hiroshima and Nagasaki were gone through atomic bomb. Some of us who are students of history, we know this history already. The story is there for us to learn from. Translation of number one. Let's consider another dangerous trend that translation can take. A statement can read, last week, in a speech, Missionary Sahib spoke to all members. Last week, in a speech, Missionary Sahib spoke to all members. Quote, we have different dialects of Yoruba language. One of them is open dialects in Kogi State. But they are open dialects. I'm not a speaker of that dialect, but they can simply say, missionary how see, missionary how no, they interchange C and A in their dialect. Missionary how see. If you read for clarity, missionary son of C, Missionary sọ̀rọ̀ sí gbogbo ọmọ ìjọ. In your own understanding, what the meaning of sọ̀rọ̀ sí?
Insulted them.
Insulted, embarrassed. But Ọ̀yọ́ dialect would translate that ní ọjọ́ Jísọ́nà sí kò kọjá nínú ìbánisọ̀rọ̀ ọ̀rọ̀ missionary bá gbogbo ọmọ ìjọ sọ̀rọ̀. The same sentence, look at the dialects. Sọ̀rọ̀ sí. If you go to a missionary and of Jamia and you communicate together, missionary why vessel of person well the person not to listen to that. But the mood of presentation should actually determine my understanding. The way it is being presented, we were not fighting, or we are not fighting. So why will he embarrass me with a statement? So we can see what dialect and also us in the act of translation. And to digress a bit, can machine translation capture that? Cannot. Again, translation of the states of dangerous. It is. I give you another example. And Anderson, radiallahu anhu, أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم كان يطوف على نسائه في ليلة واحدة ولو 9 نسوة. كان النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يطوف على نسائه في ليلة واحدة وله 9 نسوة. Only Prophet Muhammad, let me read the translation. The prophet from Abraham, the prophet used to go around the brackets, have sexual relations with all his wives in one night, and he had 9 wives. Sahih Bukhari, and his number 506. Yakubu ala nisaihi, he will go around all his flesh, and he had 9 wives. Now, let's investigate, and with our little knowledge of Arabic, let us see. Let's give the beginning of the narration. Yakubu, Papa Yakubu, to circumambulate, to go around, to visit, to run around. Allah Nisai unto his wives. Feel in nights. Wahida, one night. And he has, or for him, 6 or 9 Miswa, women or wives. Where are the words that have been translated into have sexual relations with in that Arabic text? That's not. No. Was that the intention of the narrator? Why did the translators put that in brackets? What is their intention? Are the translators Muslims? Who can tell us that they are Muslims? What if they are a set of people that want to tarnish the image of the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam that are translated this? Considering the human natural ability and the holiness and divine responsibilities of our beloved master, Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, will this published translation be acceptable? So we know. Whereas the intention of the translators might be to lend some interpretive support to their translation of the Arabic text. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe. What is the error in it that the prophet will go and say salam to all the houses of the beloved holy consorts? How are you? Check dada. How are you? Check dada. How are you? You say let me very clearly teach check the family. I can't walk you. And that is the beauty, that is what we learn, that is part of the Sunnah of Holy Prophet Muhammad that he will make sure that he visits all his houses, that each beloved mother of believers are living with their children or with their households. We will visit them every day. How is this translated to war? Mean that you will always have intimacy with them in one night. Translation. Is it not dangerous? A hadith about the promised Messiah, alayhi salam says, Fayudifanu, Ma'i bi qabri, Mishkat Masabi. You will be buried with me in my grave. This has led to serious misunderstanding of many non-Nomadic mullahs and their followers. Fi qabri, Fayudifanu Ma'i, he will be buried with me. Fi qabri, in my grave, inside my grave. Translation. Does that mean the sacred place of final rest of our beloved Master Muhammad will be read open? And Jesus in his second coming after his demise will be carried from anywhere he might have passed on, then be transported to Medina. Then the sacred place of the place of Holy Wasallam will be open, then Jesus will be put there. Is that the definition of the words? These are the people that the direction of the Holy Prophet Wasallam, but is that the meaning? Can anybody even do that? Is that not to be sacrilege? What is believe in everybody? What is believe? Jannati. What is believe in everybody? Ya ayyuhal nafsul mutma'inna irji'i ila rabbiki radiyatan mardiyah fadkhuli fi ibadi. O soul at rest. Return to your Lord. Radiyah, well pleased. Mardiyah, be pleased with you. Fadkhuli fi ibadi. Enter into my servant. Does that mean that belly or stomach of each servant of Allah that are already with him will be turned open? Then the soul that is at rest will enter into their bellies or stomach. Is that the meaning? Meaning is among, or near, or close, or together. So in the case of the promised Messiah, alayhi salam, it means the Prophet alayhi salam will be so close with the Prophet salam that you will be embedded into the beauty of Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Kind of come back outside, as if they are all àti ọ̀sán àti ọ̀run. That no one will be able to do without the other. The message of the Prophet of Islam will not be able to track for that without the coming of the promised Messiah, alayhi salam. And the promised Messiah, alayhi salam, will not also be appointed, and the promised Messiah, alayhi salam, will not be able to do so anything without taking into full consideration the being and opinions of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's the implication of the words. But the Salaf will make us to know that where is the promised Messiah? Is there in Quran. But Hadith says he will be buried in the grave of Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. My dear brothers and fellow participants, can we say that because of the sensitiveness of art of transmission as we have illustrated, we should run away from it? We earlier said one of those are translators. Your answer is as good as mine. No. Translation has been with us in the day. Human languages or their gardens, cultures, ideologies have started to differ from each other. Only Allah knows since when. We only need to understand that almost inevitably, in the translation of the work of literature, something of the author's intent must be lost. It's a must. It must be lost, even if it is beautiful. Words may not get lost totally, but beauty, presentation, emotions of the author will get lost. In part, or many times, in full, in total. Yet, we must do it. A seasoned translator Jacobi said, if two equally honest parties do not understand each other, it is because they speak different languages, whether they speak differently by lingual or cultural or ideological. And therefore, it is the translator's task to mediate between them. So a translator is a mediator. Mediate between one language speakers and another language speakers. Mediate between two cultures, mediate between two civilizations, and so on and so forth, in order to be a bridge to connect them together. So that if they use you to write upon, one language we use translator to write upon to go into another culture. That's why literally translation means to carry something across. To carry something across. So a translator is the bridge. Edith Grossman also asserts translation not only plays its important traditional role as the means that allows us access to literature originally written in one of the countless languages we cannot read, but it also represents a concrete literary presence with a crucial capacity to ease and make more meaningful our relationships to those with whom we may not have had a connection before. Translation always helps us to know, to see from a different angle, to attribute new value to what once may have become familiar. A nation, and as nations and as individuals, we have a critical need for that kind of understanding and insight. The alternative is unthinkable. The alternative is unthinkable. We cannot do without translation. If we must involve in translation, then what should we do? How we are following it? What should we do? What should we do? How do we do it? So that the translator can retain is integrity and attributive name agreed between modules. There are several responsibilities that a translator must assume and must perform them regularly. These duties and responsibilities consist of one, a translator must be an avid reader. He must always read, especially literatures of the two main languages is using as tools. Must always read. Two, it must be good, if not excellent, in writing. It must be a good writer. It must, because if he wants to translate to another language, if he cannot make himself clear and his writings legible, the translation will be worthless. So orthography, understanding of orthography and how the words are put together in different languages of his work must be well known. He must not cease to be a student. He should be continuously learning, listening to people the way they speak. I remember we were in a session with one of our tutors in those days. We were looking for translation of Aborigines, origins. How do we translate this word? Aborigines is the word Omonile. Does the word Omonile capture that? Does it capture that? No. What's the implication of the word Aborigine? Indigenous people. Indigenous people. Native people. To that. How do we translate that into Yoruba? Omonile. They also respond. But in order to save time, we just discussing one day, and somebody used a word from that is used for some section of a derivative. What Rob just said, we have some people called Aweba in ignorance. Aweba. Now, we took that word morphologically and break it down. Awe, we swim back. When we swim, we let them dead. Meaning, perhaps those people are the first to give them. So now ask, sir, can't we use this Aweba for as meaning or translation for aborigines? Yes, it can be used. Because before you can tell us that some people are aborigines of a place, it means some people have traveled there to meet them there. And when you make the investigation, then you may realize that those people are the native owners of that place. So however they capture it, it may not fit into 100%, but it's better than Omonile. It is better than Omonile. So a translator must always listen to the way, even you can pick words of translation you need from a paper seller on the roadside. So if you're a translator, you must always be learning. A translator should always be a critique, a positive one also, of his own work, at least. If you translate something, put it down, don't rush, critique it. Critique it. You must see yourself as a teacher. A translator must see himself as a teacher. That you want to teach your target audience, those who are translating, that you are teaching them about the culture and tradition of the language you are translating from. You must be a teacher. See yourself as a teacher. So you must not mislead your students. You must be sensitive to their plight. A translator must be inquisitive, must be a regular researcher, must be a proofreader, be patient and steadfast, because it can force you to run away from the project. You cannot go again. You may be stopped. I may not want to return to the project you are doing. You must be a book reviewer. You must be a self-editor. A translator must be a deep thinker and a philosopher. Always thinking. How do we do this? How do we translate it? Ask questions. Must be an intuitive empath. Don't allow yourself to be spoon-fed. And in the contemporary age, a translator must be a computer and internet savvy. Above all, he must and should understand at least the theory of literal translation, that word for word, are very closely to the original text structure and vocabulary. The focus is ensuring that each word in the source language has an equivalent in the target language. However, this often leads to awkward and unnatural sequence or expressions. Are we following? Number two. loan word or expression. This occurs when the translation retains a word or phrase from the original language because there is no precise equivalent in the target language, or because the term is widely recognized. Loan words are often used for cultural, technical, or specialized terms. You know, you take what that machine, for example, is doing, then you give it a name. So you are loaning the quality or attributes of that thing into your target language. For television, until recently, we have adapted the word television into Yoruba, and we also to market television. Television. There's no television. Re-re-mi-do. If a word can easily acclimatize like that, there's no error in the case. But this becomes under another rule. But under loan word is error for television. Error so the attribute of TV is brought in as error because that initial, TV didn't speak when it started. I mean, didn't have these qualities we have today when it started. Only voice and image. It's only voice and image. So error and it is because in the sense of our phobia, they already have what is called a when they want to see what is very far, they go to the Babalawos. No, they use a kind of their own greetings. Like you see it in Yoruba movies. So they follow that to give it to Amon. Yeah. Now let's move on. Translation problem is another strategy or technique. Borrowing translation involves taking words or phrases directly from the source language and incorporating them into the target language without translation. Without translation. Doctor, dokita, biology, chemistry, buredi from French. Bible translators of Yoruba Bible, 2,000 fish and what? And 5 bread. Yes. 2,000 fish and 5 breads. Miracle of Jesus. Or when he rose up, he ate bread. They told us in the translation, oh dear God, bread. Bread into akara, according to Bible translators. But no, the culture that produced bread is totally different from the culture that produced akara in our own understanding of Yoruba. So if you want to, if you are translating bread of English to akara of Yoruba, it's a total mistranslation. Because the process of goods and the raw material that produce them are totally different from each other. But in those days, that was how far it could go. It's okay. Transposition is another rule. Transposition is a technique where the translator changes the grammatical structure of the original text in the translation. For instance, a noun in the source language might be translated as a verb in the target language. Now, going into verb. So we change the position, grammatical position of a word in your source language into another grammatical function or position in your target language. Example, he gave his brother a slap. He gave his brother a slap. Gave is the verb there, right? A slap is the noun. That's a fair translation, right? I mean, very close to the source language. But we can also say, oh, back already. I'm not back here. Oh, back already. Okay, is what the link between back and good. So that's the technique of transposition here. Verb migrating to noun. The modulation. Modulation involves changing the form of the message or perspective in translation while retaining the same meaning. This technique is used when a direct translation will be awkward or inappropriate. It's a useful strategy for dealing with idiomatic expressions and fixed phrases that may not have direct equivalents. Let's consider this address of Her Majesty Queen Victoria to our granddaughter. Her Majesty said, to try and find out the reason for everything is very dangerous and lead to nothing but disappointment. To try and find out the reason for everything is very dangerous and lead to nothing but disappointment. Finding out about everything, but simply our fathers will say, shut up, I will be, and if I will be, I won't for you. Shut up, I will be, and if I will be, I will for you. We can see the implication of warning. We can also see how dangerous it can be if that warning is not taken. Shut up, I will be. Like Surah says, look at the sky again. No ambition. Yeah, I'm calling with like our ambition, right? That's right. I'm not an officer. Shut up, I will fail. Farigere Basa. And Karo mi kuku. For the problem of failure, and I shall know. To what the talk see, come on, go your one of it, or what the tea in Concusilie. So we Victoria born our granddaughter. To try and find out the reason for everything is very dangerous. Sure, Allah will be. And lead to nothing but disappointment. And if I will be, I will want you. That's motivation. The message is taken. No word for word, no sentence per sentence, no phrase by phrase, but the message. That's what motivation technique does in translation. Equivalence. Equivalence is the practice of translating idioms, proverbs, or culturally bound expressions by finding a phrase or expression in the target language that conveys the same meaning, even if the wording is different. Mark that. Even if the wording is different, what you want to use to translate it is totally different. Because of culture. It rained cats and dogs. It rained cats and dogs. That's how you have to say it. That's what English will say. It rained cat and dog.
Kick the bucket.
Kick the buckets. What I believe, Peru is national issue. Okay. What's the link between Peru and what's the link between Ole and cat and dog? It is a Snow White. Oh, from here, you know what? Because we do not have the kind of snow of the Europe here. We also have it, but it is water like one, just like the one we have in our big prison. That's the kind of snow we have here. And they are not common. Just once in a blue moon, we have them. But they have their own snow regularly, and they see it. So they use it in making similarities. So Snow White. So for beer, because we already have our own cotton wool here. That's white. Which is also white. Obsolete currency. Obsolete currency. We are under independence. Obsolete currency. What's the meaning of obsolete? Out of fashion. What you will what do you but that you know. Now, just take one. Two down. Can you obsolete? Now, Odama and currency, put them together. What you down? Does that convey the meaning of obsolete currency and English? Obsolete currency. So what you down? What is your what you down? Maybe it is fun. Maybe that money has an accident. That's why it's not known. Because if it's not presented again, it's not one illegal tender. Whereas obsolete currency means the money that is no more a legal tender in a particular area or region. Like our old 20 naira of paper. Obsolete currency. We still have 20 naira, right? But that one with ordinary paper is now obsolete. It's still our money, but it is obsolete. So you cannot use Owo Ti O Dama, you rather say Owo Atijo. Owo Atijo. If you say Owo Ta Alomo, I think when you have Atijo, just in brief. And so on and so forth. Spare the rod and spoil the child. Spare the rod and spoil the child. Anybody can translate that? Let's again go.
Spoil the
rod, spare the rod and spoil the child.
Do we have anyone online who wants to make an attempt on that? Somebody is suggesting Prince Hashim Saib, sir.
Okay.
What's the question?
Prince Saib, you have asked a question, sir. So a question has also asked for you. Okay, what's in Swabi?
Go on, Ryan.
Okay, Mr. Odin, please go ahead. Can we unmute him, or is he able to unmute himself?
You can unmute.
Oh yeah, unmute yourself, please, and give it a try, please.
What's wrong with you?
That's It's an attempt.
Okay.
Okay. Can you host try? Can you host try? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Ọmọ tí a fẹ́ kó la èmi akọjá ó máa bàjẹ́.
Don't forget this is an idiomatic expression. It's that is the first thing. The first thing you want to understand is what is the category of this statement. Is it an idiom? Is it poem? Prose? What? It's an idiomatic expression. And you must find or put it in an idiomatic way. Your translation must also reflect that you are translating idiomatic expression. That's the rule. So whichever translation you give it, it must reflect idiom. Structure. And in sound. So a translator has given it, spare the rod and spoil the child.
That makes no sense.
Other translations, there's no simple way to read. So what? Yeah, please. Yeah, please.
Brother Aminu Sumaila, it appears you have a question. Do you want to take the question now, please? Can you unmute yourself? Very quickly, please.
The translation in my own language. Spare the rod and spoil the child.
Yeah, please.
Ziunyanyobo nuri onomuao. That is in Esa.
Okay.
This we are taking it from different perspectives. As from my own language, translating it from English. Ziunyanyobo nuri onomuao. That is literal translation.
Okay. As an idiom.
If you want to translate as an idiom,
You want to use an idiom? That's fine. That's what the winners wants to bring out.
Hello?
Yeah. Did you hear me?
Not the child so much.
So if your translation already is already an idiom and it conveys the same meaning, that's perfect.
Okay.
That's what the equivalence technique wants to teach us. So let's proceed because of time. Then we have adaptation. Adaptation is used when the cultural context of the source text doesn't exist in the target culture, and the translator has to find a corresponding cultural equivalent. For instance, references to certain holidays, sports, or food in one culture might not resonate with the target audience, and the translator might replace them with something more familiar. It is a more radical form of translation, where the content is modified to suit the cultural context of the target audience while preserving the meaning. While no matter what you do in your art of translation, the meaning must not get lost. The meaning must not get lost. For instance, what's the meaning of okele? It's not okele of your local people. Swallow.
What's said?
Swallow. He said swallow. He said, any other one? Okay, that's consider. Yes. Why would you give it swallow? Common. Then
Because we swallow it. Yes.
Don't you swallow rice? Don't you swallow water?
We chew rice.
You chew, but not swallow it.
Some chew.
Some do chew and before they swallow it. No, I'm not saying. It is a Nigerian language. Nigerian usage. If you call, okay, if you translate okay into swallow for a native English speaker, you will never understand you, except the person who asks again, or you give a footnote and explain meaning of that word swallow. The reason why you use swallow for okele in that context, you give it a footnote. Why there's a word that is close. Swallow is a bird. Another kind. So, but they also have something that is in taking food. They also break food into smaller pieces and take little by little. That is Muslim, right? So it is closer, but does not capture a Muslim of ear. That's what we call okay. So it is better to use that than to use swallow in academic translation, not strict translation. Mokekeke ologbe. Mokekeke ologbe. I cried.
I shout, it went like that.
He ignored me. We should remember something. You are a Yoruba native speaker. You want to translate for an English native speaker who only thinks in English. You find different meaning for it that will convey the same meaning. All of the meaning can be, I tried my eyes out. English will easily understand that. I cried my eyes out. He just ignored. He went away. He carelessly didn't look at my son. I cried my eyes out. My brothers who don't understand Yoruba, please forgive. That's what I can cite as examples. Ikesi means to call somebody from afar. That's one of the meanings in the language. To call him. Please call me. But here, Ikesi ana to check on somebody.
Thanks for taking.
Thanks for the visit of yesterday. Eku does not have translation in English. Eku
Welcome.
Eku does not have translation in English. You rather use the way they greet people of the same posture, people of the same thing, doing the same thing in their own culture, the way they will greet them is what you will use here under what we call adaptation. Then let's proceed. Now, I have another one. Does the English native speaker have that in their own sense? That you learn and want to somersault. Do they have that in their own understanding? He nearly split his sides with laughter, or to crack his ribs, something like that. So you use what they know to translate it and adapt it. And lastly, here, interpretive translation. Interpretive translation. Interpretive translation means just get the whole of the message and put it down in another language to expand the message. How many of us have read the recipe of the teaching of Islam? Of Islam? Yeah, let's go and visit that and see the way Islam translates passage of the new brand in the text of the essay. It is not the direct meaning of the new brand. The publishers will only take the meaning of the regular translation and put it as the footnotes and give you the chapter and the reference. But God's here will use to expand the scope of the verse being cited. God's here will use interpretive translation. That's his style mostly. For example, God applied Mansaka, but God is not Mansasa, like 1 verse 10 to 11. Prophet translated the 2 verses saying, He who purifies his soul of earthly passions shall be saved and shall not suffer ruin, but he who is overcome by his earthly passions should desire of life. That's the translation of Prophet Isaiah. No, quoting from the English. But the regular translation is, he indeed truly prospers who purifies it. Qad aflaha man zakkaha wa qad khaba man dassaha, and he who corrupts it is rich. That's the regular translation. Dear brothers, Imam al-Islam also translates Ulu washwabu wala tusrifu. Eat meat and other foods, but do not eat anything to excess, lest your moral state be adversely affected and your health might suffer. That's the translation of the Prophet of this verse. But the regular translation is eat and drink, but do not be immoderate. Chapter 7, verse 32. So that's interpretive translation. Persia interpreted the verse. And this is what the scholars call interpretive translation. And coming to scholarly issues, Islamic scholarly issues, is a very sensitive matter. Time has been fast spent. It's a very sensitive issue that has caused wars around the world. But we need to understand certain things. One, understanding the source text of the scholarly literature or Islamic literature you want to understand. You want to translate like that. Understand the source text properly. What is it all about? In the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, all translators need to study use of language of the promised Messiah and his Khulafa. Surely, their use of language through conveying and complementing the real message in succession, yet individual of them have their own idioms. Idioms is the individual language. The way I speak is different from the way Tokara Sam speaks. Somebody listening to me, when a sound speak, that's Agbani sound. So the way when you recognize voice or expression of somebody to be distinct from other person's expressions, that's ignorance. So from saying Alex Abbas is only ignorant, is Fulafar also have their own individual ignorance. The way they speak, the way they present, when you read their books, you know, the way of their presentation, you know, totally different from each other, but conveying the same message. So this has to be understood by a translator. We must have a grasp of Islamic terminology. Islamic scholarly texts are rich in specialized terminology. Translators will be familiar with such terminologies. Islamic concepts such as fiqh, aqidah, tafsir, tasawwuf, and many more. And in Ahmadiyya Jamaat, we also do not regularly translate our own terminologies, like Chanda. You know, if you translate Chanda into Sile or Ohushushu, how do you translate Chanda Wasila? Ohushushu, why are you wasting your time? Everybody already understands what Chanda Wasila means. So in that context, you retain Chanda Wasila. So because you have understood it and your target audience already understand it also. So we have to understand all these terminologies. Isa Jaidan, Isa Aman, Jasa Salana, Jaidan, Nasrat, Najira, Murnas, Nizam, and so on and so forth. What are the implications of these terms? There is no direct equivalent in other languages, and the translators must decide to translate the term or transliterate it. So either you translate, if you know that we understand it, or you transliterate. Transliterate means converting the foreign language letters into your indigenous letter you are using as your target language. You know, like Shura. Shura is also a Yoruba Quran. So if you want to bring it in, can use your English letters. Our English of Arabic of Shin would be SH in English. So that's transliterate. That's transliterate. Cultural sensitivity and context. Translation, as mentioned earlier, is not just a linguistic exercise. It also involves transferring culture. Islamic scholarly works are embedded in the social, political, and cultural fabric of the times and places in which they are written. If you are translating a literature that speaks on war of those days in the days of the Prophet Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you know, the techniques or the way they fight the wars in those days, you know, might be totally different from the way it happens today. The translator must be able to maintain between the two cultures of fighting wars of those days and the current days. So as not to allow your message to get lost, and you must also carry along your contemporary reader. Faithfulness to the original text. In fact, this should even be the first one. Faithfulness. You must be honest. You must be honest to the source text. You must. You must. Many anti-Ahmadiyya translators have been economical with truth in their works, especially as it concerns Ahmadiyya Muslim community and its own founder. They are all liars because of their selfish gains. So they misinterpret or mistranslate works of the promised Messiah and his adaptability for modern audiences is another one. Then we have challenges that can face a translator of Islamic scholarly works. Linguistic complexity. Look at Arabic, for example. Earlier on, for you to follow, Mabi, Fi, Abri, promised Messiah, Jesus Christ and Israel, when he comes again, to be buried with me in my grave. The use of Fi here, even Mary, the use of Ma'a and Fi in that hadith appears complex because of the pattern of the language itself, its nuances. So this should be understood by a translator of scholarly writings, maintaining a balance between literalism and interpretation. There is always a tension between translating religious texts literally and interpreting them for a wider audience, while a literal translation may preserve the exact wording of the original text. It may not contain the full meaning, especially in metaphorical idiomatic expressions. Conversely, an interpretive translation might be straight too far from the original meaning. Striking the right balance is a major challenge for Islamic translators, either deliberately or ignorantly. Not giving attention to this key has made many non-Normative translators to misguide countless Muslims. Take the case of Rafa'a and Tawafa. Rafa'a and Tawafa. Rafa'a, when I take something up, it is Rafa'a. It is used like that, people in this. If a servant, humble himself before Allah, and he says, Allah will take the person who is humble to the sky with what? With chain. Is chain not physical? Is sky not physical? Is taking off physical? Taking on not physical? They are physical, but is that the interpretation of their list? So Rafa is big, it has to be understood between literalism and interpretation. The same thing to Wafa or Tawafa. Tawafa nama labora. In the Holy Quran, Surah Al-Zumar, Allah يتوفى الأنفس حين موتها والتي لم تمت في منامها. Allah يتوفى takes the soul of people حين موتها when they die. والتي لم تمت, and the soul of those who haven't died. في منامها, Allah takes their soul in their sleep, true sleep. And that is the way. When you say you don't know anything around you again, right? Because you are unconscious of your environment. So it is taking of your soul that is presence there. So this has to be, so it is the context that will now drive you to translate it either interpretatively or literally. The political and ideological influences have to be taken into consideration by any scholarly, any Islamic translator. This is the last one we take. So Islamic scholarship and its translations are often subject to political and ideological pressures. Like we experience now in Saudi Arabia. As a translator, you cannot just translate what we run against the interest of the Saudi government. Even as a Muslim, even as a Islamic scholar, you go to jail. You go to jail. You can also need to translate Ahmadiyya literature. You cannot even translate Ahmadiyya literature in Pakistan. You cannot. And if you will translate it, for people of Pakistan to take it and to have acceptability of the complex in Pakistan, you have to translate it against the interest of Ahmadiyya that is the owner of that literature. So that's the dilemma. Certain interpretation of Islamic law may be suppressed or promoted in specific regions, depending on the political climate. Translators must navigate these pressures while retaining faithful to the scholarly integrity of the text they are working with. Studying shared dominated political territories and swing dominated political territories will reveal our intention here. Dear brothers and sisters, in conclusion, we have the responsibility to start to take us some trainings in art of translation for us to be able to fulfill our religious obligations of conveying the message of Islam, explaining the teachings of Islam, all as reinvigorated by the promised Messiah, alayhi salam, under whose umbrella and great title that will operate as a majlis sultan al-qalam. Allah says in the Holy Quran, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَا مِنْ رَسُولٍ إِلَّا بِلِسَانِ قَوْمِهِ لِيُبَيِّنَ لَهُمْ. And we have not sent any messenger except in the language of his people in order that we might make this clear to them. Chapter 14, verse number 5. This implies that the message of Allah Almighty has to be delivered to people in their own indigenous language and dialect. This is the time for us to rise up and be the one under the guidance of the Khalifa of the time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you so much for this very insightful, session. I must tell you that I've jotted a whole lot here myself, but I believe people in the room here, as well as those that have joined us online, have also jotted a whole lot as well. Alhamdulillah, this is super interesting. And it's definitely something that we need to take forward, because this is a taster. We need to now work on all of the key, types of translation that you highlighted, and try our hands on it, because even I can see that Prince Abdul side has come around to say the translation of spend all the time is Omotiko Dialuni Lola.
That's great.
So it's Prince Abdul, that's great translation. So it shows that we definitely benefited immensely from this lecture. So we have some questions. If you do have questions, please kindly send them in the chat or raise your hand, and we can have you say your questions out loud here. Don't forget that this is our final session. We will be sending the link for the exam shortly. So the exam starts 9 a.m. inshallah. 9 a.m. inshallah. Don't forget, like we said yesterday, there are 3 levels of certificate of distinction when you score it and above. There's certificate of merit when you score between 70 and 79%. And if you score lower than 70, then you will be able to also get a certificate of attendance. Don't forget also that once you take the exam and we get your email from the exam, we will use this email to send you all the material for this workshop. So please send in your questions. Once you send in your questions, we will be able to, our lecturer will be able to provide responses to your questions. So I will read out the questions that we have.
We have about 5 questions here. And personally, this question is from our respected professor, Habibullah, from Ghana. You can see, MASQ is enjoying continental attention. We have, at least from what I see, I think we have 2 people who have joined us from Ghana. We hope that other people, other brothers from Ghana will join us when we start our conference by 10 a.m. inshallah. So sir, I think you can.
Oh, what are some of the challenges in simultaneous translation? Oh, another word entirely is the word of simultaneous translation. 3 things at least are being done by simultaneous translator. He listens to the speaker, digests, translates. 3. The 4th one, digest and translate inside himself, then speak out the translation concurrently. Is a translation that I've never dreamt of in engaging, but Ahmadiyya has enforced it. There's no way you won't run away from it if Ahmadiyya captures soon. So you listen, so it's a challenge. A major challenge there is 1, ability to understand the language and tongue of the speaker. If you don't understand the tongue, know the way of speaking, it's what I mean as tongue here, not the language. If you don't understand the tongue of the speaker, even if you know the language, to have a grasp of what he is saying, for you to process in your brain before you translate, is a great challenge. It's a great challenge. Another challenge, because of time, is communication gap. Communication gap. If there is a little gap between your own pace and the speaker's pace in talking, you may be left behind and may not be able to catch up on the end of the show. And mostly, simultaneous translation is based on use of machine. If there is a breakdown, the speaker will not know this. It is the problem of good translating. If there is a breakdown of the machine, or if it is internet that you are using, if there is a breakdown in internet, that translator will find himself in the difficult water. So these are various challenges that need to be considered very well before simultaneous translation is embarked upon. What are the challenges associated with machine translation as against human translation? This is a discussion that has come of, it has been living with us now since perhaps early 50s to today. Machine translation. Can machine translation give us what we need without human being? Who is the brain? What is the brain behind the machine itself? Human being. So taking that as an illustration, machine translation cannot do without human being. Even the AI we have today, it is human being that bring them up. They put machines together to give us what we have today as artificial intelligence, as robots. It is human being that hewn them together, isn't it? So machine translation cannot do without human being. But let's assume a machine is already there I want to take African languages into consideration now. If English can be translated into French, almost perfectly, no underscore that almost perfectly, because of the way they have evolved over these years. Can English be translated into our dialects and pick the right contextual usages? Like we said the other time. I'm still listening. So, machine translation and human translation, it is human translation that is the best or better comparing to. Human translation is better than machine translation because human being will be able to use his own brain to select what is needed within a particular context. But if human being can go to the extent of considering by making machine to also consider context, then it will be fine. I know they are doing it, they are also perfecting it, but human translation is still preferred. And challenges there is that machine cannot read my mind. Machine cannot read the emotions of the source text, cannot read the biases of the source text. Machine cannot read the biases of, the right culture of the source text, that is the source language. Does he see a future where machines can overtake human translators? Yes. Yes and no. Because the brain of human being can never be substituted. Machine will always have its limitations. So for machine to take over totally may not come to stay. May not come to stay. Because human brain can never be substituted. What advice will he give to those who assume understanding a language equals ability and capability to translate without going through the practical way of learning translation skills? There is always need to train in everything you want to do. You have to train. It is not a license that I can speak English perfectly. I can also speak Yoruba or Hausa perfectly, or Arabic. Yes, I'm a speaker of Arabic, and I also speak English very fluently. That does not mean you can translate. The skills must be there. We have enumerated some of the skills. And how can translation help madness or autonomy? Yes, in many ways. It can help and it should help, and we should see it as a tool. I believe as we continue to progress, there will be a time when we will want to diversify into other languages, like into Yoruba, Hausa, Etsako, Igbo. So we have to translate. We might start to translate all the articles we already have in our archive, even before we embark on writing new words in those languages. So we have to translate the existing articles into those languages when we reach there. So we still have to go through these processes. Exactly.
This has been truly enriching session. I don't know whether anyone has any other question. But I think one thing that amazes me with the simultaneous translation is, or maybe one that sometimes you also have some time before you then interpret. You listen first, then you interpret later. Is the memory of the translators. And I admire yourself and Madam Habib this answer over the years that I've seen you do this. Because sometimes for the past Amir and the current Amir, when they give lectures or even other people during Ghana, for example, they speak for maybe like 5 minutes. And then you come and do Yoruba translation, you have to listen to all the things that say. Then the other person will come. And I wonder, how did you build your ability to, because listening is a skill. How do you build the ability to listen? Because listening is critical listening. I was telling people yesterday, critical listening is a skill. So how do you build the ability to listen? Then, apart from listening, sometimes people are listening through the right ear, but those same words are going out to be the left ear. How do you develop your memory, to retain as much as possible, then that you're able to then capture the entire different way that is because sometimes you can remember the fresh things, but after some time, how do you manage this? I think it's a skill that you need to let people know secretly of how you develop this information.
It's a question that I like to run away from. But it's a grace of Allah, one, which is above all anyway. But under that, one must always be careful of losing concentration. Lose concentration and you forget where you was start from. Release it. Release it. But if you are able to remember the beginning, allow the person to rest. That's why a translator or a consecutive, we call it consecutive, this one is consecutive. So simultaneous is when you are listening and you are translating at the same time. People listen to in Urdu. Some of us listen to English instead of Urdu or Yoruba instead of Urdu. That's simultaneous. No concurrent. But the one we do, a speaker will speak, then we translate as consecutive, one following after the other, if my English is correct anyway. So you must not lose concentration. So what anybody does among the audience is none of your business. When you are standing here, you have business with the speaker, and you have business with what he says. If you have the privilege of jotting something down, that will assist and it will assist a great. But you don't jot in this instance, like the mark service. You don't have opportunity of jotting down. There's no error. Nobody, it's not a crime to have the paper. You know you want to do the work. There's no error in bringing paper and jot something down. But this is what somebody has been doing over years. So you don't have to say, when you give attention to that child is making noise, don't attend to it, you are gone. You will lose your concentration. So these are some of the tools that are needed there if one want to succeed. It also applies to some other areas too. If you are reading and you don't pay attention, you will miss out lines of understanding. You may not miss out, your eyes may not miss out lines that you are reading, but lines of understanding they miss you if you don't pay attention. And this is where deep concentration is needed.
Before we let you go, because I know you also have another program. So you mentioned something very important, concentration. But that's attention deficit is a problem nowadays. There was a day I just had to keep my phone away, like, what's wrong with me? Have you noticed that many people will agree with me that sometimes if our phone is not with us within 5 minutes, we are troubled. If we don't look at the screen or check something, we are troubled. You know, and this is something that is a key challenge. I mean, maybe you will say everything is based on God, but are there particular advice extend to people? Because like you said, concentration is very powerful. Even on Salah, most of us know that, just like the example the Prophet used of Sahaba, that whoever did not think of anything, how many of us can pass that exam? So what are some suggestions you may have for people to improve their concentration skills?
If we cannot pay attention to Salat, we cannot pay attention. If you don't concentrate on our Salat, you cannot concentrate on some other things. Because we have to do whatever we do, we have to do them religiously. And the use of mobile phones these days is a great, I suppose, great challenge to many or to almost all of us. One thing that we need to do with our mobile phones, if our work is not mobile phone based, we can imbibe the culture of, I will check my message mostly 3 times in a day, early morning, in the afternoon, and before I go to sleep. And anyone who sends me message, anyone who wants to send an urgent message or emergency would never send message, rather call, put a call across. And if he's forced to send message and he said that you are not checking it, he will call you to make you to attend to that message. So if your work or your job is not mobile phone or even computer based, it is better you create a neat culture for yourself. For you to be able to have concentration. And Quran has already guided us. Quality. If you are observing your salat, stand before Allah, quality, you piously, with concentration, not allowing any other thing to come into your mind. So if we imbibe that culture, it will assist us greatly. It's very important that we imbibe it. You are in office, you are reading, you are in office, you are in shop, put your phone away and concentrate on whatever you are doing. It's a veil that is disturbing us in this contemporary age. And another thing is determination, because we can be tempted. Only Prophet was told in the Quran, is there a Zamta, but our Allah. Our prophets of God have been called, prophets of God, people of great determination. And Allah has referred to them as son for us to learn lesson from them. So we must be of people of great resolve that this is what we want to do, and I must do it. And if you compare, anytime you have a great result in doing something or in achieving something, compare the result of that time with what you have achieved before on similar project or similar issue. You see that there will be miles of difference. So Ulul Azmi, we must be one of them. People of great reason, people of great determination, that this is what we want to do. So determine that your computer, your mobile phone, your internet will not disturb you for the next 3 hours. And it will be. It will be. Therefore, I can't that. Now, do your bit and rely on the Almighty result. Exactly.
Really, thank you so much, sir.
I will be sincere ready on my part if I did not allow this question to be asked. What's the English word for Ijabe? Could the English native speaker have something like Ijabe? If they have to find
That question was originated from Facebook. I've been seeing Jabe on social media for the past few days now.
Okay.
Asking what is the Yoruba for, I mean, English word.
English word for Ijabe.
They use it.
Local, they don't need to put local. Do they use it? If they use the word they mean, the instrument called Ijabe, then we can find the word for it. That's why a translator is a researcher. We should not see anyone to be a moving dictionary or a mobile translator. No. Every translator must be a researcher, and you must collate your own meta language. Your dictionary that will be easily accessible. And one thing that is also interesting in that translation art is, it makes dictionary to evolve. So through translation, dictionaries enlarge, lexicon enlarge. So through art of translation. So we must research that, and that's an assignment for all of us. So I'm also going to decide with you for you. You also do that, and the questioner, she also do that. But meanwhile, you may use Blender.
We have come to the end of the workshop session. We will now be ending this session with prayer. I believe that we will be dropping the link for the exam now. So the exam, so once you see the link, please go ahead and do the exam. Don't forget, when you score 80% and above, you get certificate of distinction. When you score between 70 to 79%, you will get certificate of merit. And when you score below 70, then you will get, alhamdulillah, certificate of attendance. So we believe that this has been a very useful experience for everyone. Okay, yes, I think the link has been dropped now. May Allah bless the exam for all of us. More importantly, may Allah bless the knowledge that we have acquired from all of this session. We want to thank our facilitators profusely. First, our father, of the team of Shuboyede, of Friday. Then we have our respected brother, then we have our respected Dr. Barista. Then we had the right to session with Professor Said. And to cap it off, I'm sure this has been a very useful session for all of us. Some of us tried our translation skills, very, very interesting one. With our respected Muhammad of course, when you call us, we thank you everyone that has stayed with us on Friday. Don't forget that our annual conference will start by 10 a.m. inshallah. So we implore you to join us again for a very, very what promises to be an interesting conference. So to close this session, the highest request our father. Especially of the team who will decide and lead us in the final prayer.
So God has the right to do this. But let us all decide as partner to get it. How do that? Okay. it has been one of the things of the status of the property. In the cars of the city of the level of the bar, the bar of the
Please. Please make sure you put the correct email address, in the form so that we can send all the lecture materials to you. Please make sure you put the correct email address in the form so that we can send all the lecture materials to you. Jazakumullah khairan, ahsana jazaa. We really thank you for staying with us, please. The questions are simple from what I heard. I've not attempted the questions. So, in fact, I'm afraid that when fighting, some people are just joining. Please resend the link again so that people can put their.
Okay. You've seen it.
àìkìlọ̀ èyí tí ń di ẹrù. Ìsánù lànà October náà làwọn náà lò fún Ajib September October náà náà sọ tẹ́lẹ̀ pé ìṣàpọ̀ wọn àti ìrèlízo.
11 minutes lọ sàn àdẹ̀tí wáyé wọlé.
Yóò ní pẹ́ di ṣùgbọ́n mẹ́ta làwọn náà máa ń lò.
Sorry.
Mo tí ó ṣe mọ sí táyà kó wá ṣe graduation.
Ló ń ṣẹlẹ̀ wọ́n ń bèrè pé àfi kí n bá ní nọ́mbà kò dẹ̀ drop nọ́mbà kankan fún mi.
Àwọn yẹn ti láàgbésàn nọ́mbà.
Okay, assalamualaikum. So we are going to end the section now while we take the exams. So we anticipate your presence at the annual conference. It's going to be a great convention. So we will anticipate your presence. So it's going to be a way to wrap the workshop, and we will present the participants with certificate of distinction. We hope to have you names there. So thank you till 10 a.m. The section will be back on. It's the same link, so you can just save the link and the password for the annual conference. Okay, thank you. Okay, assalamualaikum.